Some of us can be real givers. And when you are a hard worker, when you are ambitious, you are giving. That is a giving kind of energy. But we also have to be receivers. We have to be open to receiving. Are you the kind of person that if someone says, hey, great job, I really appreciated everything you did, and you say, oh, no problem, that was no big deal? You just diminished. You just have set up a barrier to receive what someone was willing to tell you about yourself. So we have to be willing to receive. Welcome to the Love Your Work Life podcast, where you will get encouragement, strategies, all the things you need to love your work life. This is about transformational, strength-based coaching for career, for leadership, for life. I'm your host, Elissa Shuck. Let's get started. I've been thinking a lot about how I accomplished what I accomplished in my career. I've often talked about the pivots that I've made, the transitions that I made, the leaps from one industry to another, and the promotions that I got. And I can attribute a lot of that to hard work. That's just in my DNA. I have a good work ethic. I actually love working. Sometimes to workaholic type extremes, which I, of course, don't recommend. But I also know that I achieved all those interesting shifts and pivots and promotions utilizing some universal techniques. And by universal techniques, I'm talking about mindset, visualization, creating inside my mind a vivid picture of what I wanted, and then living from that frequency, living from that vibration of already having it. It's not always easy because when your reality doesn't match what you're imagining, it's easy to doubt yourself. It's easy to get sidetracked. But the more that you can create that vivid, emotion-infused picture, it's amazing how the outside world starts to fall into place. And more recently, I've been thinking about all of that in relation to the law of circulation. Now, the law of circulation is something that you'll hear from different people, different spiritual traditions, metaphysical, religious teachings. But what it really means is that giving and receiving are inseparable aspects of the flow of life. And so as I think about especially those promotions, I think about it in terms of the law of circulation, that yes, I was contributing a lot. I was giving, and therefore I was setting myself up to receive, to bring into actuality the picture that I had. So I want to talk about the law of circulation and how you can leverage this in your own career, in your own work life. So let's talk about some key elements. Well, one of the key elements is that this is a dynamic exchange. This is not a passive thing. This is the assumption, the law, that the universe operates through this continual process of giving and receiving. Think of the yin yang, that great little symbol that has this interconnectedness that fits perfectly. It's also about balance. True circulation isn't just about giving. Some of us can be real givers. And when you are a hard worker, when you are ambitious, you are giving. That is a giving kind of energy. But we also have to be receivers. We have to be open to receiving. Maybe that's receiving compliments, Are you the kind of person that if someone says, hey, great job, I really appreciated everything you did, and you say, oh, no problem, that was no big deal? You just diminished. You just have set up a barrier to receive what someone was willing to tell you about yourself. So we have to be willing to receive. And the law of circulation is something that is also about expansion. And that's where it starts to intersect with science. And I really, really love that. Now, of course, there's a lot of teachings over the years and contemporary teachers who talk about this idea, this concept of the law of circulation. Some of those historical roots are Judeo-Christian teachings. There are also teachings that are aligned with the law of circulation in ancient Egypt and Greece. There's the Taoist wisdom about qi and flow, this philosophy that is about a flow of energy coming and going between us and the universe. And what is super interesting about that one is that when you feel stuck, when you feel like your career is stagnating, that's a good indication that you are not tapped in to the law of circulation in your life. You're either not giving or you're not receiving. So when you figure that out, you want to put yourself back in a position to participate in this continuous sense of harmony and vitality and energy between you and what you are doing. Looking back at it, I can really see how I overcame that ceiling, not by thinking no one's appreciating me, which might have been true and might be true for you, but we've got to get past that. We've got to get into the sense of, hey, this might be a receding moment, but just like the ocean, it's not going to recede forever. It is going to flow back. And that is an energy of coming and going, and of not just going with the flow, but harnessing the flow with a deeper understanding of what that means and how it works. But I digress a little bit. Let's get back to where all this comes from. There's also Buddhist practices that align with this natural flow of compassion and abundance in the universe. Indigenous teachings and cultures also talk about the interconnectedness of all of life and the importance of sharing our resources, our wisdom. Why am I sharing all these ancient traditions and wisdom and teaching? Because if this idea of the law of circulation covers time and cultures and societies, then we have to accept it as a universal truth, the way things operate. But we play a part in that. We can choose to be a part of it when we focus on the abundance that we see around us, the resources that are constantly regenerating. This is the law of circulation that we see around us. What's really cool about recognizing the law of circulation is that it's not woo-woo stuff. Maybe 30 years ago, maybe 40 years ago, but now science is proving it out to be true. So let's talk about that. How does this align specifically with studies around the quantum field? Because the quantum field, as a theory, explains that the universe is a dynamic interplay of fields and particles and constant creation, annihilation and transformation. Energy and matter are not static. They circulate and exchange. This is the parallel to the ancient spiritual ideas that abundance also flows through cycles of giving and receiving. The other super interesting thing is that quantum phenomena, such as entanglement, demonstrate The actions in one part of a system can instantaneously affect another, regardless of distance. This is one I'll have to do I'll have to do a whole episode about entanglement because that fascinates me as well. But this mirrors this idea of circulation, that the acts of giving and receiving are not isolated, that they ripple through the interconnected fabric of our reality. Think about that, my friends. Every time you go the extra mile, every time you receive a compliment, every time you accept an opportunity to show up, you are participating in not only the law of circulation, but a ripple effect that has implications. Who knows how far down the road? It's so fascinating. Listen, that layoff, even something that in the moment feels like a negative, it has a ripple effect. It has opportunities in the quantum field for something better. I can look at every single one of my layoffs and know beyond a shadow of a doubt that I would not be where I am today without those situations in my life. In fact, each of those situations taken singularly were part of the stepping stones to the next level, to the next opportunity. That is the circulation. That is the law of circulation in play. Some other scientific insights that really reflect circulation is there's some recent research in quantum vortex dynamics that has uncovered universal principles governing how energy circulates, meaning that circulation and transformation are fundamental. This emphasis on flow and vitality and abundance, and that there is no such thing as giving without receiving. They are tied together. So when you feel like you give and give and give and there's no appreciation for it, no opportunities for growth, that giving is not wasted. It's just waiting out there for an opportunity to circulate back to you. Can you tell I get so excited about this stuff? I love it. So practically speaking, how do we put this idea of the law of circulation into our daily lives? Well, the first one is give freely. When you are stepping into a new role, or you want to get a promotion, or you want to be recognized for what you do, you must do it as a gift, not a get. If you're motivated by what you can get out of it, you are limiting and preventing the law of circulation in your life. You must give freely. That's money, that's time, that's talent. And it's got to be without an attachment to the outcome. That's get energy. We're talking about give energy. That's what initiates that law of circulation flow. The next practical application is receiving graciously. This openness to receiving completes the cycle and allows that which you have given, that abundance of talent and contribution, to return to you. But you've got to receive it. You've got to be willing to say, I'm ready to receive. Another practical application is gratitude. There is so much teaching on the benefits of gratitude. Maybe that's another episode. But if you haven't looked into it, the health benefits, the mental benefits, everything that is associated with gratitude, then I encourage you to look into it. Because gratitude for what you have and what you receive keeps the cycle active. And gratitude for what you have is about giving, right? If you're being stingy with your gifts, stingy with your talents, holding out instead of just giving freely and being gracious for what you have, because gratitude for it means that you're not worried about lack, you're not worried about scarcity. You can give freely and be grateful. That's what turns on that law of circulation faucet. And the last practical application is release and trust. Let go of that fear. Let go of that scarcity mindset, because the natural flow of circulation can't exist in fear. It can't activate in scarcity. It's in opposition to the law of circulation. So, my friends, I have to ask you this. What does the law of circulation look like for you? And what I mean by that is, what do you want to receive? And what will you give, trusting that that is all going to come back to you? It's going to come back to you practically. It'll come back to you in unexpected ways. And it will come back to you in relation to another law, reaping and sowing, right? When you plant seeds, it's not just one plant that pops out of that seed. When you plant seeds, you're planting for abundance. You're planting with the expectation that more than just that one seed is going to come back. A mustard seed creates this huge, giant bush full of other seeds. Plant an apple tree. Not only are you getting a whole bunch of apples, but you're getting multiplication of that single seed. This is the law of circulation. All right, my friends. I'll probably create a post about this on LinkedIn, maybe even an article as it relates to leadership for my Middle Ground newsletter. But whatever the case, join the conversation. DM me privately on LinkedIn if there's some things that you want to talk about. All right. I'll catch you soon. If you like listening to this podcast, I invite you to visit the Love Your Work Life website at elissashuck-careercoach.com. On the site, you're going to find free resources and information about all of my coaching programs, everything you need to land a great job, advance your career, and lead and build an awesome team. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to this podcast, and don't forget to follow me on LinkedIn.